All right, guys, we are back in Suno Studio. So firstly, what I'll do in this video is we're going to make some West Coast G-Funk. We're going to record our audio into our DAW, only because I'm recording this video using all this software, so it convolutes my mic. And then we'll transport that audio into Suno Studio to amplify. So firstly, we're in FL Studio. This is where we're going to just simply record an idea. Let's start here at 93 BPM, and we're going to turn the metronome on. I'm just going to I'm going to beatbox some drums. Let's record this in. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. It's almost ran out of breath there. So what we can do here, so the only reason I'm recording in my DAW is because of the way the video is set up. So it's not because of Suno Studio not working. It's simply because of the way all this recording stuff works. It will feed back into itself. So that's the only reason I'm doing it this way. So let's grab this audio and let's drag it inside of Suno. All right, so what it will do is check for the BPM. So what we're going to do in Suno Studio is click here at the bottom, go to manual BPM and type in the same BPM that we had in the DAW. This gives Suno a little more information in terms of quantizing and how it will generate other stuff. Now also too, we want to zoom in and make sure that we're dragging this to the 1 so that everything starts at the same exact spot. So the magic of Suno Studio versus just regular generations is inside of Suno Studio, you give it context. Okay, you give it context. So if I hit play, it should play the same exact. Now the reason we start with drums is we want to give everything else, an alignment. Okay, now that we have this, let's record this. Rename this. Let's call this original drums. We want to name as many tracks as possible because when you have more and more stuff, everything can't be unnamed or you're going to get confused. So let's click loop mode and let's drag this loop marker all the way back to 16 bars. I recommend you guys create in an 8 to 16 bar area if you guys plan on creating arrangements. The more you create, the more convoluted it gets. So usually I stick to 16 bars or 8 bars as a starting point. Now let's add a track. And here I want it to think of a G-Funk type bass. So let's click here at the bottom generation area. Let's go to bass. And we want to specifically put West Coast G-Funk. And I'll show you guys a couple keywords you guys can use. Let's just hit create. Let's add another track. And let's add the comma and enter the word Moog. Moog is a very common synthesizer used for that West Coast sound. It's a very prominent synth. So let's just type in Moog and then hit create. Let's hit add track. And let's do another one where we add a comma and type in resonance bass and then comma res bass. These are just styles of tone. Okay, so we can click that. So it looks like they've updated the create button as well. I've noticed this is more available than it usually is. Usually it has a circle, but it looks like we can generate up to 3 tracks. So we're going to get not just 3 generations, we're actually going to get 6 generations. I didn't know this for the longest time, but you can mute these tracks for now and then click where it says show take lanes. I didn't notice that for a long time. So if you click here, there's actually 2 versions of the thing it just generated. So let's see if it even picked up on the right notes I wanted. So that's more of an electric bass. Okay, so that's why we have certain synthesizer keywords in the next generations. Let's go to version 2. As you guys know, G-Funk is all about the bass. Now that's a cool take. However, I'm not sure I want an electric bass. Let's open up this next channel here. And I think, you know what I did? I did not generate a bass. I generated a song. So we actually need to go back and redo our prompts here. That was my mistake. Didn't notice that. So let's create. Anytime you see the word instrumental, I should have paid attention. That means that we generated a song. I'm not sure why it defaults back to song. I guess, I don't know why, but I guess that's the quick mode. And okay, so now we're gonna make sure we highlight this track and replace Actually, let me see here. Let's just delete this entirely and just create a bass. Now make sure this says bass so we don't waste any credits here. All right, so let's see what we have so far. Here's our electric bass. Now that would be a cool vibe if we have nice chords. This so that could be a funny meme moment. All right, let's go to channel 2 here, track 2, and let's run this from the beginning. So I like it a little bit, but let's try different versions here. Let's try version 4. Now, I do like that sound. That was kind of cool. That might work. I might just keep that sound in there because that was kind of cool. Let's try version 3. So this is the generation where I told it to add a Moog. These sound more like electric basses. Those aren't really Moogs, but I don't expect it to know it that deeply. So now let's go to, so these are all electric basses. So I want a very specific synth sound. Here's more of a Moog type sound. That's why it's so important to give it very specific work. So yeah, we're keeping this take right here. All right, so it took a little bit to get there, but that's why, you know, studying music production can help you guys get better results. All right, so now we have the bass that we want. I'm actually going to get rid of these other takes because it clouds up the screen when you have so many tracks everywhere. So let's just delete these tracks. Did I delete the track that I just wanted? Hold on. Let's run that back. Where did my track go? Okay, so there's the track. I think I forget how we move this upward because it is a little tricky. I think you just left click and drag if I did that right. I'm not sure why it's muted though. It's a little, oh, maybe because I just soloed. Okay. So if you left click and drag that take up to the main area, that's how you replace the main bass. All right, so now we have our bass. We are set on that. Let's highlight this area, and we wanted to create some drums. So beatboxing would be cool, but let's tell it, you know, West Coast, and I'll just use words like lazy drums, or some people say sloppy drums, or funk type drums. But let's just go keyword by keyword. We don't want to just slam it with keywords. I've noticed the less keywords you use, the better for a lot of Suno. So this time around, let's type in funk drums, and I'll just say lazy drummer, which means they're a little more loose with the timing. They're not like, they're like that. All right, so there we have that. So let's mute this and let's hear what they came up with. Let's mute the original. Now this is a little, so here's where we're getting into very specific sound selection. For G-Funk, they have a very specific Roland TR-808 type sound. So actually, let's go back to add a track here. And let's tell it we want some drums. And then I'll say, I don't know if they'll allow us the word Roland, but Roland TR-808 drum machine, because that's where the majority of the West Coast got that sound from, that Roland sound. But so what I'm trying to say is they don't use like typical soul drums, like with a snare. It's going to be usually a clap involved. So these drums are a little too pointy. And And we can also click on the drums and switch this from original to on beat to see if we get more in the groove. Does seem to tighten it up a little bit. Now what we can do though is zoom in and we could just visually see these are just like nudged a little bit. Let's just nudge it to the left. Let's hear some other takes on this one. Let's turn on version 2. That one's a little, again, it's tricky because this genre, they really leverage synthetic drums like the Roland TR-808. Not sure these drums are gonna make it. All right, so for these generations, the drums are probably the weakest portion of this song. So I'm going to delete a lot of these drums. We'll stick with the take that created the clap. But personally, I'm going to redo the drums in the DAW. Let's highlight all this stuff. And now we want to generate things that we just normally can't generate, like a flute, for example. So I'll just type in flute under the woodwinds. Let's add another track here. Let's do backing vocals. I've noticed background vocals are a little bit more precise for beat makers and people who are trying to make instrumentals. Lead vocals are for when you have lyrics and like top line melody that's really strong and it really stands out. Background is just for like ooh, ooh, that type of stuff. So I'll just say oohs and ahs, or just ooh and then ah in terms of the lyrics. And then we'll put soft female harmony, just something simple, nothing crazy. And I'll put R&B, it doesn't matter though if they're doing oohs and ahs, but just in case. Let's create this and let's hear what it has so far with this flute. So I love the flute style. They went in on this flute with that. So as you guys can hear, the weak link is the drums. And we'll reinforce the bass in the DAW. So I will say, if this were just a track by itself, I wouldn't. See how we're bringing it to life? Man, I love this harmony. What? Man, it went down. What in the F? Man, that is, bro, and it went in line with the synth. Suno just, man, as you guys can see, man, I cannot fake this. This is just crazy. So again, the drums are really just there for timing purposes, not to actually keep them in this case, because it just doesn't give us that authentic feel. But what else can we add? We can add strings, we could add bongos, we could add, I don't think brass would go with this. Definitely guitar. Let's definitely do some guitar. We'll do West Coast. Now we're going to generate more stuff than we actually need. And in the DAW, we can arrange this, okay? That's why I told you guys to try to generate, 16 bars, 8 bars, because we can use these as puzzle pieces in our DAW. Let's generate the guitar. Let's do a couple guitars because I want to try different styles here. Let's do blues. Let's add the tag blues, and let's also add the tag R&B. I want to see how it approaches that guitar. For the different styles, excuse me, different styles, I'm also going to add the tag M7, which is minor 7, minor 9 chords. It may or may not do it, so let's just add that in. Another instrument, I think I clicked song. Darn. I don't know if I hit guitar or not. I'm pretty sure I hit song. Darn, let me redo this. Guitar, recreate. I don't know what it's doing, but okay, recreate. Now let's highlight this channel and let's say we want to create some kind of strings. Now strings on West Coast are usually synthetic strings. So it just depends if it's like Dr. Dre style, but let's put synthetic string synth so that it knows the type of strings. And let's hear these different guitar takes. This one's a little rhythmic. I don't want rhythm guitar. So I like it. I just don't want rhythm guitar. There we go. That just gave me an idea. Let's create another guitar lane. And let's highlight the area. Swing this back to guitar. Let's type in wah guitar, W-A-H. That's like wow, 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 that type of guitar. So let's do that. I didn't think to do that initially. So all this, I don't need rhythm, so I want to get rid of those. And I do like the wow, wow, wow. So what I'm going to do though is just get rid of everything here. I'm just highlighting this, hitting delete. So this is why Suno Studio is so important. We don't have to commit to the other part of the idea. That flute is really going all the way in. Let's drag these guitars up. I forget why this is muted. How did we do this before? I forgot how this was. I don't know. So I don't know if this is going to make sound. I don't know how to turn it on. I forget how we did it last time. Okay, I just had to click the take button off. There we go. Okay, so let's mute that for now, and let's hear with our wah guitar. Now we're getting that West Coast sound. As you guys can hear, it went from this like raw idea to now it's starting to shape. We basically started with the bones first, and then we're building out the body. I'm satisfied with these guitars. I don't even need to hear the other guitars. Let's hear this R&B guitar. Now I'm going to let this guitar play the rhythmic stuff, but in the DAW, we're actually going to delete this, but I don't want to delete it to where we can't pull it back. So I'm not going to delete that, but I am going to do it in the DAW so that we don't have this sound. This is turning in such a... Oh my gosh, man. Suno gets me every time, man. Goodness, man, that flute. That flute is everything to this track. Let's hear what the strings sound like. That was hard. Oh my goodness, yo. This is what gets me so hype about Suno, man. It takes this, your super raw idea, like super raw. In the beginning, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was like, crap, I just wasted my time making this video. I swear to you, every time I hop into Suno Studio, this is what happens. And then magic happens out of nowhere. Like we went from this. Wait, hold up. I don't know if I can solo 2 tracks, but we went from just the drums and the bass. And I was like, okay, we're going somewhere. And I was like, starting to sweat. And then out of nowhere, that flute came in and just added angelic ideas in. Bruh. What the total F every time I think, I'm like, Suno I'll get bored of Suno eventually, right? And then every time I load this thing up, it just blows my mind. So what we're gonna do though is make sure we name everything. So wah guitar, everything's named. Let's go to export. Let's do multi-track export. We're gonna extract these 10 tracks and bring them into either FL or Logic. I might go Logic because Logic's just a cleaner sound. FL's cool and everything, but to me, I need a very specific open sound, and I only get that in Logic Pro. So I might drag this into Logic Pro. I'm going to pause the video and wait for these stems to extract. Pardon me, the multi-tracks to export is what I meant to say. Okay, so now we have the multi-tracks downloaded. We're going to double click so that it unzips. If you have an error with it, right click and just open with this app called the Unarchiver if you're on Mac. You shouldn't have an issue though. Let's double click in here, highlight all these and just left click and drag them in. So let's go to create new tracks. Again, I'm in Logic Pro because it gives me a very big sound. I try to, just have a bigger sound. FL is a little limited in terms of the sonics. Let's pull this over to 16 bars. So now we have the BPM set up top here to 93. And we need to go find the original stuff and just either mute it or delete it. In this case, I'll delete it. We don't need it. Bars. Delete it. We don't need it. And I'm going to get rid of their drums. We definitely don't need the drums. But that was just to generate around the drum. Now, everything can't happen all at once. It can technically, but we don't want it to. Let's take all this stuff and let's duplicate it over. Think of it as part A and part B. So on part B, we want a slightly different vibe. I think the strings don't need to arrive right away. And I think, also that R&B guitar, I don't think we need it right away. All right, let's start programming some drums in here. Let's go to busyworksbeats.com/blueprint. Actually, you can find it at busyworksbeats.com/black. It's bundled in. It's called the Blueprint. And basically it has all of our sounds in here. Let's add let me see here. What do we want? We want a kick. We want a punchy kick. Let's go to kicks. We want a very West Coast kick. I like this kick. Let's left click, drag it. We want to load this in a drum machine designer. This gives us pads we can trigger. And there's one. A lot of these kicks are very crunchy. So the reason you guys hear that click is because they're clipping. So let's turn this down so you can actually hear the tone. So these are very big kicks. Decide what kind of tone I'm going for. I think we got the right tone. All right, and now we need some kind of snare. So we just need kick, hi-hat, snare. Now let's go back to my go-to sounds. We don't want trap drums here. We want, let's go to our drum break folder. Let's go to our J Dilla track. Or, what do we want? Do we want a snare or a clap? I think we want a clap on this one. It's really hard to tell the kind of vibe. We might either go clap. Let's do both. Why am I? Okay. Anyway, let's do drum one shots. There's a snare I usually grab. And we could mess with the sample starting point over here. Again, this is where we get into production. So I'm trying to keep it simple. We have a kick. We have a snare. Okay. Now we can find what's called the Roland TR-808 drum machine. Here's a more modern version of it. This clap here, you guys have heard it a million times. Dun, 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 doo, 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 doo. Okay, you heard that a million times. And the hi-hat, we don't need to be super specific about the hi-hat. So I'll use this one. Okay, now we got all the ingredients. Kick, hi-hat, snare. Just need to turn stuff up. So to turn the kick up, we're gonna click out of here. We're gonna go to the what's called the track stack, find the kick. This, and on the left side with the inspector, we can open up the sampler and we could turn up the kick. We could use drive, we could use just simple volume. Probably the best thing to do here. We can also pitch it down for more boominess. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let's see which works better, a clap or a snare. But first, let's record the hi-hats. I know this is a lot here. I like to record by hand, but we can also use a step sequencer. But for now, let's just record this by hand. Let's record. at the end, I will say it goes a little off track. So this is where we have to understand things like Flex and Logic Pro, for example, because in Suno Studio, remember it was time warping. When it says on beat, it was time warping it for us. So here in our DAW, we have to manually turn on time warping features. I don't have time to explain everything about everything, guys. So you got to bear with me on some stuff here. But when the tempo feels off, you have to basically hit it with the time warp. So again, I'm thinking in terms of 8 bars of stuff. So we just did 8 bars of a hi-hat. Left click and drag it out. We could quantize by double clicking in here, hit Control A, and then mess with the quantize on the left side here. All right, now let's go back and add that kick and snare. I feel like the kick's too loud, so I'm gonna go back to the kick and fix. See right here, it gets off beat. Okay, so at the very, very end, I might even pause the video because this might take a while. So the very end of this was 8 bars. It gets a little sloppy. Like right there, that is super off beat. See how that's off beat? Okay, so what I have to do is geeky stuff right here. We basically have to split it. Let's just split it from bar 6. And we want to highlight all the tracks that we want to affect here. I know this is geeky. I know this is beyond the scope of Suno Studio, but you guys got to understand what goes into this. And let's go over here to, what was it, bar 8. Hit Command T. So now everything's separated. So let's highlight just these areas. And we should be able to go to the inspector tool and go to where it says quantize. And let's quantize it by the 32nd. That should fix timing issues, but if not, see now it's like do 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 do. Got to figure out which one is going. Hear that do 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 do. Got to figure out where that's coming from. So firstly, we got to figure out which track is doing that. Also, I forgot we didn't even want this information in the guitar to begin with. I forgot about that. That's why we got to have a producer mindset coming into this stuff. You can't just, I mean, you can. Let's not say can't. You don't want to always just let the AI think for itself because it doesn't know what you're trying to do. It's doing its best to guess. So that was my forgetting that I didn't want all that stuff anyway. So that solves the problem. It was just delete the track. Okay, cool. So all this rhythmic, all that type of stuff, we're just going to get rid of that because that throws off the ear and makes the ear anticipate stuff. And also too, I could just like manually nudge a lot of the stuff. It just seems a little like a hair too early. Just gonna nudge it. Oh, that was fire. All right, so this is a little tedious. I might pause the video because this is just basic realigning things. All right, so I did some realignment. It is a little tedious in Logic, but now the only thing that's not lining up is the string performance. So I might just cut the strings. Because it goes, it's not really on beat, technically. And it's throwing off the rhythms. Also, there's like 2 guitars playing. So here's what I'll do. We need to take stuff away because there's too much movement going on. So the number one way to sound amateur is to have like 7 rhythms going on that don't match. Okay, so we need to, it's like wearing designer clothes and you have like 7 designers on and they're all just like gaudy. So we need to figure out which guitar is creating rhythm. I would assume it's this funk guitar, but, or no, it's this guitar down here. Let's get rid of that one. So anything that's going, we want to get rid of it for this specific. Okay, so I must have missed an area where we want to take out the guitar. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just showing you guys, I'm going to basically just cut the beginning of this track of the guitar. I only want the wah, that wow, wow, wow sound. Okay, I don't want anything else out of this track. Anything rhythmic, we're going to remove, okay, because that's clashing against our main rhythms here. So that's why that sounded weird. Let's try the ending. I'll let it do that. See how everything, all that rhythmic stuff, it can get offset very quickly. So let me pause the video and cut these little pieces out. Okay, I think I've taken away everything. Look how much room we've taken out of these tracks, only because of those rhythms clashing. All right, now let's go back and add that kick and snare. Yeah, I think clap is definitely needed for this. All right, let's go back and record this in. So it's a little sloppy at the end. We just got to go in and figure out what's creating that sloppiness. All right, so let's pull the drums back up until about here because they got a little sloppy at the ending. Let's figure out what is causing the slop first. Let's mute each track. This will help. Okay, so it's the flute is off. So let me quantize this flute to 30-second. So see how that doesn't line up at the end? It's just like some weird. So we just got to figure out what this rhythm of the flute, what it's clashing against. It's hard to tell. I think maybe the vocal track. Okay, the vocals just has some random beatbox in there. Okay, this is why you got to check every track. All right, so that whole time it was the vocal track doing that guitar, that weird guitar. That's where it was from the whole time. I would have never thought to check the vocal. Okay, we should have everything. So now I'm just making sure everything, because now we're missing a lot of information, like, oh, the bass is off. There we go. What was that random sound? Okay, let's take out this guitar. So right there is a little early. Man, so many little touch-ups. That's why. I'm not gonna obsess about everything. I might add vocals to this. I'm definitely gonna redo the bass. The bass is. All right, let's group all these. Let's create a track stack. Call this Suno. So we're missing some space, but here's where we can add our chords and our sounds. So I'm gonna get rid of one of these guitars. Had a weird there's like this weird crash sound. Gotta figure out where it's coming from. Wonder which track. Maybe it was my kicks. Okay, so it was my kicks. My kicks must be stacked up. So I might have double. Oh, I think I know what happened. Okay, so I missed the kick. Forgot to delete it. There, that's what that was. Okay, I thought that was it. Let's run these drums through some. All right, so we can add keys. We can add, first of all, let's figure out what key we're in. All right, looks like A major. So we definitely got the A major chord going. Just trying to come up with the next chord. Because this is like a random key, I might transpose only because thinking of chords is a little bit difficult. I'm gonna transpose. Let's do, so let's say I was writing in C major. We're gonna go down 1, 2, 3. This way I don't have to like overly complicate my brain trying to figure out chord voicings and all this. How I can now play what I'm actually trying to play. Okay, I don't know what happened to my sustain pedal there, y'all. Let's do this again. All right, so there's definitely parts I want to take out, like, and there's, looks like I recorded over something. How do we do this? So let me, man, so many buttons to press. Let me figure out how to undo what I just did here. All right, this is a matter of deleting something. All right, now we just got to turn stuff down. This is not doing sustain. Man. So many little things to know. I did not realize in music production, you have to know so many tiny little things. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm just going to turn stuff up or down and get rid of like weird stuff. Let's turn these keys down. So let me figure out where that dum 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 sound is coming from, because I don't know if I like that. All right, so this one took a lot of arranging. So arranging is also knowing when to remove stuff. Look how much stuff we removed. We had like, what was it, 7 tracks, and we removed like over half of it. Now it's just about adding a bass line back in. I mean, you guys can see how much work goes into this. Let's open up what's called the retro synth. See if we can come up with a Moogish sound. We gotta figure out what kind of bass we're going for. Man, what are all these rhythmic things going on here? All right, we gotta take out all that accent type stuff. All right, the tricky part is finding the bass, because I forgot what the bass sounded like in the track. I kind of like this as a background sound. It's random, but let's add it. Of course, when I hit record, my fingers start making up stuff. gonna go find that all those it's just too like it's getting on my nerves now. So I'm gonna take those out. All right, I think I've taken out everything I don't like. We're probably gonna find more stuff. Look at this, guys. Look, we took over more than half. We took out more than half of our tracks. That just shows you guys like you kind of start with everything and then you slowly chisel it down. Gonna give her this weird lasery sound. We're still looking for a bass sound for this track. How long have we been at this? Let's see. Dang, almost an hour, y'all. So it takes just the same amount of time as making a regular track. Well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna use my actual plugin. Okay, let's use Hercules because right now this track needs bass. Hercules has a ton of bass. Let's do two different basses. Let's do a sustained and let's do more. All right, so, you know, let's just record the bass and we'll go fix those like things that have time errors because it's definitely the flute. Something in the flute sounds a little off. And this is what separates, again, pros from amateurs is amateurs just let everything kind of be off in time. But as you guys saw, I removed so much stuff because it affected the time perception. Also, too, I think the hi-hats need a little more adjustment. I think they need to be delayed a little bit. There we go. They were just too early. All right, so I took the time to add some vocals in here just to get a vibe.
Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just
So we can go in and add little lead sounds. It's anything we can think of, really.
I just want some on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la. Cruising down the 4-5, yeah, yeah. I just want some that fire, yeah, yeah. Smoking on some that la la la.
All right, so we definitely push Suno to the limits. Subscribe if you're new. Go to busyworksbeats.com/black to learn more about our courses. Peace out, guys.